There's a place between dusk and dawn, a thin veil of time where everything feels suspended. For Evelyn, it was the hour she spent walking through the quiet streets of the city she had once called home. It had been months since she'd last returned years even, but the streets still whispered to her, held memories of the laughter and the pain, of love lost and love left behind. She had left everything behind in search of herself. A job that drained her spirit, a city that didn't understand her, and most of all, him, James. After all these years, Evelyn found herself standing in front of the old coffee shop where their story had begun. The same one where she had first met James. The place smelled of cinnamon and freshly ground coffee beans, and for a moment it felt like she had never left. She stood frozen, hand gripping the door handle, hesitating. She wasn't sure what she was looking for, only that the past had a way of dragging her back when she least expected it. The bell above the door chimed softly as she entered, and the warm air wrapped around her like a blanket. She sat at the same table where she and James had spent hours talking about everything and nothing, where they'd planned futures together that now felt like distant dreams. As she took a sip of her coffee, Evelyn's phone buzzed on the table. It was a notification from her old email account. The subject line made her freeze. "I never said goodbye." Her heart skipped a beat as she opened the message, her hands trembling. The email was brief, only a few lines of text. "Evelyn, I know you won't want to hear this, but I need you to know that I never wanted things to end like they did. I've thought about you every day since you left, wondering if I could have done more. I don't expect anything from you, but if you ever find your way back to this city, please let me know. There's something I need to say. James." She sat there staring at the screen, her emotions crashing over her like a wave. All this time, all these years of silence, and here was James still thinking about her, still carrying the weight of their unspoken words. Evelyn didn't know what to do. She stood up, her heart pounding in her chest, and walked to the door, the email still glowing on her phone. The sun had long since set when Evelyn found herself standing in front of James's apartment building, the familiar ache of uncertainty creeping back into her chest. Her fingers hovered over the doorbell, the moment stretching out longer than it should have. But then the door opened, and there he was. His eyes widened in disbelief as he saw her, and for a moment they simply stared at each other, as if the world had stopped turning. James stepped aside, motioning for her to come in. "I got your email," she said softly, her heart racing. "I've always loved you," James said, his voice steady, "and I will always love you. But I think what matters most now is what we do with this second chance. Do you think we could start over, Evelyn?" She looked into his eyes, and for the first time in years, she felt hope bloom again, not in the past, but in the future they could build together. But as she reached for his hand, the soft sound of a door opening from behind them broke their moment. Standing in the doorway was someone who bore an uncanny resemblance to herself. The face was the same, with the same familiar features, but in her eyes there was something different, something foreign. This was Evelyn living in a different time, in a future far beyond what she could have imagined. The space around her had transformed. The walls now carried cold, lifeless colours, and silence filled every corner of the house. To Evelyn, the house appeared different. It was as though a doorway had opened, leading to a time and life that had not yet come to pass. James stood in the kitchen, a cup of coffee in his hand, his gaze devoid of the passion and excitement Evelyn had once known in him. Evelyn left the house. Her steps were light and free, a smile playing on her lips. On the streets, life had once again begun to flow, and with every step she realised more and more that true freedom lay in the fact that nothing and no one could pull her back to the past. And in that moment, as she walked away, the door behind her opened once more. James's familiar voice called out from inside, "Evelyn." But Evelyn didn't look back, not even for a moment. She kept walking, with the same smile on her lips, her steps full of hope, moving toward the future.